So, hello, John. Nice to meet you. Thank you for this opportunity to interview you. It's an honor. So to begin with, I would just like to know if you don't mind telling me your background and how you got into um, you know, what you're doing.
Um, I left school when I was 16, which was 10 years ago, and did nothing, did nothing but I sort of accidentally fell into the catering industry as an apprentice chef,
Uh-huh.
and I've done nothing else but exist and have amazing experiences over the last 30, 40, 50 years, I suppose.
Wow.
Of which probably the last 35 years were initially running around kitchens and etc. And then the last 15 years has been involved with consultancy, which has been probably one of two avenues: new builds and design, or sort it, mend it, fix it, which has been working with businesses that need help and support and uh, pushing to better places, hopefully.
Wow, wow, wow. So, another question is, what has 40 years in this industry taught you so far? What are some
Um,
things you've learned in 40 years?
it's actually 50 years, but don't tell anybody, please. I would say that the two things that it taught me at the end, well, there isn't an end, hopefully, was two major things: that the most important things in life are health and happiness. But it took me that long to realize that, because I was very, very serious individual that was very much focused on, achieving and having structure to my career and getting somewhere and achieving lots and lots of things.
In this field you're in, and the culinary field, what would you say is more important, profit or innovation?
If you're smart and clever, innovation will bring profit.
Right.
The business in the industry has changed over the last 50 years. It was initially about hospitality. It was about loving people. It
Right.
was about, if you have the skill to be able to appreciate other people and make them feel better in life, then in theory, you could be successful. However, over the last 15 to 20 years, it's become very, very, very investment profit driven, which
Mhm.
has pushed it to another place. Not always better.
Wow. Wow. So when working with a brand, what are some things you assess before you offer your expertise?
Okay, so I asked them about 100 questions. I want to understand where the staff part, what the staff eat, what the rewards are. Look at their marketing, sales initiatives, their strategies. I want to understand their thinking, their mentality, how they eat and breathe and work and operate. I want to understand their performance. It's a complete thing. It's been a detective. It's been
Right.
forensically smart to really
Right.
understand how they develop their culture, or how they exist. If
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Wow. When I was doing my read up on you, I saw something very interesting.
Oh no.
Something very interesting, that you've been a consultant chef basically for Manchester City
Yes.
for about 20 years.
Yes.
How, how is that? How is it working with a football club of that magnitude? Are the demands really high?
Yes. Um, I've worked actually for about 17 or 18 different football clubs, including
Wow.
Real Madrid and FC Bayern and Crystal Palace and Fulham and blah, blah, blah. But City was 20 years. Are they demanding? Yes. Do they understand their industry? Yes. Are they experts in my industry? No. So it's about a relationship. It's about a partnership of them learning from myself and vice versa. Because the whole corporate scene within Stadia is now, really important to football clubs. It's sweating their asset. Otherwise, they end up with a concrete beast that gets used, I don't know, 30 or 40 times a year, apart from some conferences. So actually using that stadia, that ground for as many days as possible is really, really important to them.
Okay. So in your opinion, what are, if you'd like to mention 2 or 3 skills needed for someone to have in getting into the culinary field, what are some like 2 needed skills for,
If you're
in your
talking
opinion?
about being a professional chef, then, the industry is very different now to what it used to be. When
Right.
I was young, it was, without using the cliches, it was 15, 16, 17-hour days. It was 6 days a week. You had to need it. You had to want it. It was
Want
tough,
it.
hard, military style, difficult environment. Now, with all due respect, it's typically, not in all cases, I appreciate that, but it's an 8-hour day. It's easier than what it used to be. But to answer your question, I think you're either in it or you're out of it. If you're in it, be successful. If you're smart and clever, you can push and you can, go and work in theory in any country, because food is a great mover.
Yeah.
Food can take you anywhere you want. But it's understanding the industry, and then I think, enjoying it, if that
Right.
kind of makes sense. But the skills, determination, I think, is listening, which is quite rare nowadays. People, typically when they're younger, don't always listen. So it's listening and learning and rubbing shoulders with those that know more about things than you do, and being smart, bleeding them of their knowledge. You can steal it and use it for your own devices, can't you?
Thank you so much. That's really good advice. Another thing I was thinking of is, why consultancy? So in the food and because when I was reading up on you, it says that you're one of the leaders in the consultancy field. Why consultancy in the food and beverage industry? Why? Because I know most people go for something else. Why the
Well,
consultancy part?
okay. When you've been running around kitchens and working in hotels and restaurants and, all sorts of other sectors, what do you do when you get to 40, 45 years old? You got varicose veins, your knee joints go. It's a tough, hard, well, it was in the olden days,
Yeah.
hard environment. Physically, it begins to take you apart.
So yes.
So what do you do? Do you still want to end up with those 8, 10, 12, 14-hour days and that whole kind of grind?
No.
But for myself, it wasn't intentional. I didn't want to hang up my boots or, get a briefcase and have hair gel and have bits of paper and use long words.
Yeah.
I didn't want to tell people what their watch said regards the time either. I had a skill which I didn't realize, which was all about forensically understanding an issue or a problem. So by accident, a couple of people said, "Hey, look, we're looking to open a restaurant. Could you give us some advice on the design? Where should the kitchen go?" Pretty simple thing. And then someone else said to me, "I've got real problems recruiting, or I've got an issue with sales, or we don't seem to be able to make profit." It was those simple things
Yeah.
that I began to look at for other businesses. And then more and more people asked me to help and assist them in trying to, find a better way to run the businesses. And then probably over the period of 18 months, I became the original flavor designer to Walker Sensation Crisps,
Yeah.
which
Which
was
is my
getting involved.
favorite.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you said that.
Which is my favorite.
But I think that was about understanding product development. Okay.
Okay.
That wasn't about pots and pans. I then I was invited to be a judge on BBC
My,
MasterChef, which again was something very different. I then was asked by Tony Blair and the Labour government to help and assist with reviewing food within the NHS.
wow.
And probably around about the same time, Manchester City asked me to go and help them open their new stadium. So
Wow.
you've got a very set style of existence within work, which is pots and pans and all the
Yeah.
same sort of things, suddenly, pow, you're involved with product development, you're involved with staging, you're involved with so many different things. That awakens you to a new future or
Right.
evolving your future. I was going
Yeah.
to say to maturity, but because one of the issues you have as a chef, if I sat here today with a chef's jacket on, you probably would have a slightly different view of me than
Yeah.
if I sat here with a suit on.
Yeah.
So, but it's different in France, because in
Yeah.
France or in Switzerland, chefs are revered.
Yes.
They are fountains of knowledge. Where in the UK, it's a little bit different. Have
Yeah.
I answered your question?
You have. You have. You have. So I have three more questions because I don't want to hold you for too long.
Whatever
Just
you want.
just three more questions, and you've
Make
opened
them
my
make
mind.
them tough. Make them tough. I don't want any of these lightweight questions, Jules.
I
Come
have
on.
questions. I have questions written down. So, what are the common mistakes you see food and beverage brands make when trying to scale, and how should it be avoided?
Okay, scaling.
Yeah.
All right, okay. The essential thing is system, process, procedure. Having that Germanic approach to every single thing needs a rule, a policy, and a law. Every single thing you do needs to be measurable to a certain standard. Make sense? Not
Yeah.
because you want to treat human beings like robots, but because if you visit a restaurant and you decide to have a chicken dish, you don't want to have it on a Tuesday one way and come, in 3 weeks' time and have it totally different. So it's
Yeah.
standardizing those things.
Yeah.
I think it's understanding the culture of your business and how and why it's been successful, and
Mhm.
being very, very careful to moving on to having 2 or 3 or 4. Because commonly, pardon the expression, they get bastardized. It
Mm.
starts off because it's controllable. If you get involved with 4 or 5, and chefs are the worst. Chefs typically, they need a brain or another brain of management to deal with having many different outlets. There's so many chefs made a complete mess and continue to make a mess of branding and moving on and having various different, because you can't be here, there, and everywhere all of the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes it's about expanding by not
Mhm.
expanding. Yes. Sometimes it's that expression of, if the tap drips, sit under it. If things are going well and it works, then tie yourself up with cufflinks or handcuffs and don't start by trying to be too smart and be clever. Enjoy what you've got and refine it, and don't go too far.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Another question is, how do you think shows such as MasterChef, I think Gordon Ramsay used to have one. I can't remember what it's called, but shows like that, how do you think these shows have, over the past few years built the climate of, of culinary, of food and beverages, of the industry?
Okay.
Has it more helped? Has it helped more or
Both.
both? Okay.
In some ways, it's helped because it gives better profile to the industry.
Okay.
In other ways, though, it's rather false.
Okay.
I've been demonstrating at a restaurant show, and a mother's brought their little Johnny or Jimmy, what his name is,
Mhm.
who's 16, and she says, "John, Jimmy wants to be a celebrity chef in the next year or so. How does he do it?"
Yeah.
And my reply is, tell him to come back in 25 years.
Wow.
In other words, that whole instant success, that
It's,
whole mentality, in a lot of ways, has ruined things.
yeah.
Because it's about the dirty pans. It's about the fact the sink's blocked. It's
Yeah.
about the fact you've got an issue. It's those down to earth things that really happen with the industry.
Yeah.
So in some ways, the TV mania thing has assisted, but in some ways it doesn't really kind of assist, if that makes sense. But I appeared on the original series of BBC MasterChef, which was championed by a guy called Lloyd Grossman.
Mm. Okay. 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 Wow. All right. So what current consumer trends do you think are overhyped, and which under the radar trends should brands be adopting more?
Well, the most prolific and energized example with regards to trends is within retail. I know
Okay.
my compatriots within hospitality would get grumpy with me, but retail's smarter, quicker, and faster. If you walk into your Marks and Spencers or your Waitrose or Morrison's, they're probably on it more with far more detailed information about trends in the market. They also serve 99% more people than what the catering industry do. So, but that's a good question, because that could be the success and failure of a catering business. Can be that the fact that they get involved with a fad, or they get involved with a trend that's here today and gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
So spending time planning and researching and understanding where the market is, where the competitors are, locally, nationally, and internationally, is really smart. It goes back to that detective work. And above all, getting so close to your competitors, it's scary. Get so close to those guys, you understand how they think, how they breathe. Why are they successful? Driving past their car park and counting the amount of cars they've got in it, and how many customers they're doing, and eating there on a regular basis. I know that sounds a bit James Bond espionage-ish, but it's
Very
important. It's important. The
right.
fools are the ones that slag off the competitors,
Competitive.
don't visit, and actually completely disregard that, which is what I did for many years. But then you learn, your brain expands.
Right. Would you say, would you say the food and beverage business in Britain is way more advanced than the food and beverage business in other countries like France, maybe Switzerland? Do you think the British food and beverage, from your experience and from being to
From my
maybe different countries?
experience,
Yeah.
okay. Let me be tough. Let me be tough on this one. Okay.
I want the
No.
honest answer on this one.
Okay. Within the food, a lot of the countries like Switzerland, and if you look at the Arabian countries and France, food has been part of their culture for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And you can understand why.
Yeah.
In the UK, we don't really have a food culture. I'm talking, forget the celebrity chefs and all of that bull, but the down-to-earth side of things, we don't really have. We don't really have a... How embarrassing. It's
It's
telling
so
me to take a tablet, which means you must be stressing me out, Stephen. But no, you're not. I'm joking. So we don't really have a food culture. It isn't steak pie and Yorkshire puddings or toad in the hole, is it? Or cottage pie. That ain't a food culture. But if you
Yeah.
look at France and lots of these other things, their style of food has been around for generations.
Generations, yeah.
So what you find in the UK commonly is that you've got fusion, which ends
Yes.
up being confusion. So
Yes.
they'll serve
Ooh.
anything. They'll offer anything. You go and you want a mishmash of bizarre food, or if you want to see a country bastardize fantastic dishes that have come from other countries in their British way. Oh my God, half of them need to go to prison because they make such a mess of, pineapple on pizza.
Yeah.
Okay, bad
I,
example, or is it? But
I
you
like
just
that,
see
bro.
classic dishes
Yeah.
that the Brits commonly make a mess of, if
Yeah.
that kind of makes sense. But,
Yeah.
the industry, if you stick around in the industry, if you're determined, if you're driven, if you have that energy to get out there, kick some ass and do well for yourself, okay, you can travel anywhere. I've worked in Germany, Italy, France, Saudi, Kuwait, all sorts of places because of food. And humans